It is a common mistake of 21st century journalism to assume that fairness entails hitting everyone equally hard. That is not fairness. Fairness means applying the same standards to everyone and hitting whoever violates those standards. In our third story tonight, CNN hit Michael Moore for, quote, fudged facts in his new movie, SiCKO. Wolf Blitzer yesterday airing on the network, a report by Sanjay Gupta in which Moore is seen taking 9/11 rescue workers to Cuba for health care is portrayed as dishonest because SiCKO does not mention that Cuba's health care is ranked worse than America's, except that the ranking actually does appear in SiCKO. And P.S. it is irrelevant to Moore's point that America should have treated ailments arising from work at Ground Zero better than it has. Gupta's report ended with the accusation that Moore fudged his facts. Moore responded forcefully.
That report was so biased. I can't imagine what pharmaceutical company ads coming up right after our break here. But, you know, why don't you tell the truth to the American people? I mean, I wish that CNN and the other mainstream media would just for once tell the truth about what's going on in this country, whether it's with health care. I don't care what it is. I mean, you guys have such a poor track record, and for me to come on here and have to listen to that kind of crap, I mean, seriously, I haven't been on your show now for 3 years. The last time I was on, you ran a similar piece about Fahrenheit 9/11 saying, oh, this can't be true, what he's saying about the war, how it's going to be a quagmire, the weapons of mass destruction. You know, and why don't you start off actually with my first appearance back here on your show in 3 years and maybe apologize to me for saying that 3 years ago, because it turned out everything I said in Fahrenheit was true.
Dr. Gupta today apologized for botching one part of his fact-checking, but his report focused less on specific fudging allegations than on trashing problems with health care in other countries, implying, hey, they could all be better. Well, what are you going to do? Let's turn now to Rachel Maddow, whose show airs every weeknight on Air America Radio. Good evening, Rachel.
Hi, Keith. Nice to see you.
What's wrong with the way the mainstream media covers America's healthcare system?
What's wrong is that it's almost like we're back in Bill Clinton's first term, and the insurance companies are still funding those Harry and Louise ads that are designed to make us more afraid of healthcare reform than we are of our own bad healthcare system. If you imagine our healthcare system as a man in cardiac arrest, the big business interests in healthcare are essentially telling us, don't use a defibrillator on him because you might leave burn marks on his chest. They're trying to make us more afraid of fixing the problem than we are of the problem itself, which has the effect of protecting the status quo.
As we heard in the excerpt, Moore essentially was implying that Gupta and or Blitzer and or that network are corrupt, biased because of support from pharmaceutical companies, assuming they don't actually get checks from big pharma. Are there more nuanced reasons that television news does a less than stellar job of reporting on the issue?
Well, Keith, you hinted at some of it in your introduction, this idea that you have to be, in order to be balanced, you have to be equally critical and equally respectful of both sides of the issue, even when one is plainly wrong. So just as we got fake balance between Exxon science and science on global warming, so too we get fake balance between Americans' experience of what's wrong with our healthcare system and what's put out as public relations by the people who profit from our bad healthcare system. It's not balance, and in fact, it's not even true.
And our next guest, Dr. Crazy Nutbag, who has concluded that there is no gravity.
Yes.
Is it tinfoil hat thinking to wonder whether people in this country actually die every day because there are the proverbial cliched rich fat cat corporate execs out there who literally conspire to stifle genuine healthcare reform, let alone genuine healthcare debate?
Is there a more plausible explanation?
Yeah.
That's the problem. I mean, not only healthcare reform, but debate about real healthcare reform is a real challenge to the companies that have created the system that we have now in order to make themselves very profitable. I mean, the big pharma is the second most profitable industry in America after defense, and they have a huge economic stake in protecting the status quo, and so they're doing it. It's not even very conspiratorial. They're just fighting to keep what's theirs.
What has to happen for real healthcare reform to take center stage in domestic politics in some sort of real, meaningful way?
Well, I think that Michael Moore's movie is actually really resonating with people. It'll generate a lot of outrage, and that will help. But honestly, the big picture is that it's a government solution. And normal countries see health as an issue that has a government solution. And for us to really make progress on it in this country, we're going to have to kill the self-fulfilling, cynical, conservative prophecy that all government is necessarily as incompetent as our current one. We're going to have to see some political leadership that believes in the common good and the ability of government to actually get something right.
I think maybe you just figured out the Bush administration. It's designed to get us to be small government again because they're so big and so bad.
I'd rather have no government than these guys. That's right.
Well, we're approaching that too. Rachel Maddow of Air America. Great thanks as always, Rachel.
Thank you.